Some of the biggest clashes took place here at the former presidential residence and the mayor's office. The buildings were burnt down, and you can see here all these cars were also set on fire. And it's the fire, you can hear again the shots, but maybe it's the military and police officers are firing into the air to warn people not to approach the square, because they closed the square in order to prevent people from gathering. It's still not clear who those people who clashed with police forces are. Protesters say that their movement is peaceful and it was the authorities who provoked the violence. But many people now hope that the order can be restored very quickly. We haven't seen any signs of protests taking place in Almaty today, but we cannot say that it's quiet because we heard shooting and some explosions. Earlier today, when we drove past, we saw some dead bodies inside cars. Maybe these people tried to storm in and drive through the police cordon during the clashes, or maybe they were simply caught up during the standoff.
Well, I'm joined now by Kate Mallinson, an Associate Fellow of the Russia and Eurasia Programme at Chatham House in London. So this very tough stance by the government seems to have certainly, made the protesters rather wary, understandably. Where does it go from here, do you think?
Yes, unfortunately, the situation is stabilising to a degree, but it's going to be a very restive situation for the foreseeable future. And the protesters' demands require the government to sort of totally overhaul its political economy and kind of socio-economic conditions for the whole population. So this is not going to be an easy issue to address. But secondly, what's really important is we're actually seeing a change of leadership here with the Nazarbayev family, who have been at the helm of Kazakhstan for the last 30 years. They have left the country and they played such an important role in the country in terms of controlling all the country's major assets. And we have to remember that Kazakhstan is an extremely rich country in terms of natural resources. It owns 40% of the world's uranium production and has all the minerals in the periodic table, and so without the family, taking out the family, there's going to be a huge sort of shake-up of the political economy.
Are the protesters backed at all by any outside forces, any outside nations?
It's really important to separate the homegrown grassroots protests that we see in the west of the country and other cities. And it's important to remember that Kazakhstan is the size of Western Europe. So what we're seeing in Almaty and what your correspondent has just been referring to it has a very different nature. And I would say, there's a lot of propaganda, as in all these situations, truth is the first casualty. So we're seeing a lot of disinformation, and the president is using sort of hyperbole, talking about terrorism to justify a crackdown on the protesters. So you have peaceful protesters on one side, but then you also have the some kind of criminal elements mixed into the picture who are being supported by elite figures who do not want to lose control in the country.
What is the position of China on all this?
Sorry, I didn't hear.
What's the position of China on all this?
China is looking warily from the east. It has a lot of investment in the energy sector in Kazakhstan, but it's made a kind of quite an anodyne statement about what is going on, and it's unlikely to do anything, but it will be sitting there very nervously.
Kate Mallinson, thank you very much indeed there from Chatham House. Thank you.